Alan Shearer. Ooh. I want to know how you scored that goal.
Yes, Gary Lineker.
Welcome to the Rest is Football. I'm sorry, I know I can't sing for Toffee, but I've tried my best. We can only start in one place this week. We want to know the full lowdown of your day in the terraces with the Newcastle fans at an away game.
Yes. From the very start, though. Don't pick pieces from the very start. Let the people know, Alan.
Correct. How did it come about?
My son said to me, Dad, I've got a spare ticket. You said you were always going to come to an away game with me. Why don't you come to the game? And I was like, are you mad? And he said, oh, come on, you'll love it. Honestly, it'll be amazing. And I was like, actually, it's not a bad idea. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, sod it, I'm going to do it. Why not? I've never been in there since 1985, I think it was. And then I said, right, I'm in. And he's like, really? Seriously? I said, yeah, I'm coming.
He actually asked you, didn't he, earlier in the season, I remember. Wasn't it a Champions League game? And you told him, I think you told him to fuck off.
I did, yeah. So it was Paris Saint-Germain. He said, why don't you come to Paris Saint-Germain? Come over with me. He said, with me and a few of the pals are going to the game. Why don't you come over, Dad? It'll be a good one. And I said to him, are you mad? I said, can you imagine me in with 4,000 or 5,000? Anyway, he persuaded me and I went, oh my God. I'm definitely going to do it again. I absolutely loved it. It was everything. It was chaos, madness, excitement. It was just brilliant. I mean, the atmosphere.
You must have got deluged with like selfies.
It was all fine. It was all good-natured. I mean, as soon as the game kicked off, no one asked for pictures. They just let me stand there and watch the game. But I mean, I got in there at, I don't know, about 6:15 and we kicked off at 7. So for 45 minutes, it was a constant line of doing pictures, and then half time came and then it was 15 minutes of doing pictures. But that's fine. Everyone was really respectful and they were great. It was great to be amongst the Geordies.
What was the best part of it?
Just how, I mean, there were obviously seats there. No one ever sits down. And I said to my son, right, well, here's the ticket. Where we sitting? He looked at me as if I had two heads. Dad, he said to me, no one bloody sits down in the away end. What's up with you? And I said, it's okay. Well, so where's our seat then? He says, you don't even have to sit on. You just get in there. It's fine. You just stand where you stand. It's like, and of course, with the atmosphere being so good because Newcastle were winning, and won, it was just non-stop from the moment the game kicked off to the end of the game. The singing and the passion and everything it was amazing to be part of.
You join in the singing? Because you love a song.
A little bit. I mean,
did he join in? He started it. What are you on about?
That's what they started singing as well. They started singing, Shearer, give us a song. And I was thinking, shall I start a song or not? Am I going to look a right dickhead here?
I bet you sang your own song, didn't you?
Anyway, it was great to be a part of. I absolutely loved it. I'm definitely going to do it again.
And a decent win as well, which probably made it, didn't it?
To go there where I thought, yeah, we've got a decent chance of winning at Fulham, and I always know there's a great atmosphere there because there's so many. Because that end behind it, in Craven Cottage is amazing. Always when Newcastle go there, it's full. So I thought it's a good game to go to. We've got a good chance of winning. Why not? And we did. So it was really special.
You mentioned yesterday how it tends to heighten the emotions, and if the referee makes a kind of questionable decision, etc.
That's what I did. I was thinking, when the ref makes a poor decision, you can hear all the fans go, "That's useless." And I found myself doing the same to the referee in front of the fans. I'm thinking, if the cameras are on me now,
he's getting sacked.
Honestly, I had to think, calm down, Al. You might get sacked here for shouting at the referee.
So you're with your son, your daughter was
my
there,
son, my daughter, her boyfriend, and a couple of my son's pals. Yeah.
Next step. The Gallagher, isn't it?
The Gallagher, no, that might be different.
You might need security, Al. I'm available. Just give me the dates.
We were all at the game in Newport. Brilliant atmosphere. I mean, I must say, after 10 minutes of the game, I thought, this is just going to be a really boring, damp squib, Man United, comfortable victory. But Newport came back and gave a real run for their money, didn't they?
Yeah, it was one of them games where you're thinking, okay, FA Cup feel, something special about the cup. And after the first 10, 15 minutes, we're all thinking, for us, the game's done now. It's going to be 3-4, 5-0 to Man United, and it's going to sort of spoil our afternoon. And then Newport found some confidence, whether that was the crowd, whether it was just the wonder strike. Of course, it took a little bit of a deflection with Morris scored on 36 minutes. But then they just had that little bit of belief, and then it made for a great game. I thought Man United were very good, though. And a lot of people say, okay, they're only playing against a League Two side, but you still got to get it done. We've all been to them grounds where it's tough. And Gaz, you made a really good point about back in the days.
There's when you first go time for everything.
I was just about to say.
Lower league teams, when you go there, they had the advantage because where at the top level, it used to playing on beautiful, great pitches. But when you used to go down a level, it used to be really tough. But Newport's pitch was actually too good. And Man United could play their football on it, couldn't they?
I've said this many times before. It's the one thing I look at the modern game with absolute envy. And no, not necessarily the money, but the playing on those surfaces week in, week out. I mean, how do you miss? How do you miss when a ball's rolled across on the...
It was a bit of a leveler, wasn't it? Like, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, wasn't it? I mean, you were literally in your ankles in mud and everything. I mean, that was on some big grounds, you know, so God knows what it was like when you went to the smaller clubs, so-called smaller clubs or lower league clubs. The pitch yesterday was no problem at all, and Man United, you could actually see, you know, when the players walk there, thinking this is not so bad after all.
Probably the biggest problem Manchester United had going into the game was another possibly self-inflicted one, of course, with Marcus Rashford left out the squad, through reporting ill, and then seen on a night out in Belfast and then reporting sick the next morning. Ten Hag was obviously put on the spot yet again. Kelly Summers, I thought, did a great job. Pushed him on it, and he said he kept insisting it was just an internal matter, which suggests that it is a genuine issue once again for the club.
If it is true, and we've only had the reports, but you're right, and Ten Hag was saying it's an internal matter, which suggests that there is definitely something in it.
That it is a matter rather than just an illness. Yeah.
I mean, it must be so frustrating for the Man United fans because they've had it with Sancho, they've now had it with him. It's like, what on earth is happening? I mean, Ten Hag was brought in because there was a complete lack of discipline. One of the reasons he was brought in at Manchester United. He's already had to discipline him once for being late for a meeting. He left him out of a game. Now, if it's the first time, you accept it because everyone makes mistakes. The second time, you think, but for it to continue to happen and question marks keep coming along about players' attitudes and being late and calling in sick or being in nightclubs 3 days before the game. What the hell? Seriously, man, it's such a bloody short career. Have a look at yourself. Get yourself together. Get some decent management who are prepared to tell you that this is not acceptable. And get out on the pitch like you did last season and score 30 goals instead of paltry, 4 goals this season? Come on. I mean, there's such a good talent in there. What a waste if he gets to the end of his career and has huge regrets and looks back thinking, I should have done that differently. What a complete waste if that were to happen.
Certainly going back to my generation, happened all the time. They would go out for a drink a midweek, because we're not talking about the night before a game here. So it's 3 or 4 days before a game. That often happens, but obviously things have changed a little bit now. Everybody is carrying a camera with them, so you know you're going to get spotted. I'm not saying you can't go out and stuff like that, but I think one thing you've got to realise is that even if you genuinely do feel ill after it, and even if it's not, even if it's not a hangover, or who knows whether they drink or not, but you got to turn up for training. Because that was always the thing, wasn't it? Even if I remember playing back in the day at Tottenham, and players would come in the next morning, you could see they were hungover and they'd had a few too many drinks, and they'd put bin bags on, put a couple of arms through it, and try and sweat it all out. So you can't give people an excuse to have a pop at you, basically.
No, you can't. And obviously, I'm the most recent retired, so I sort of know the new school dressing room, as it were, even though the game's always changing. But I've been out during the week. I've been out, I've had fun, and may not have drank, but I would never not come in to training the next day. That's a bit what I don't really understand. You can have fun, enjoy it, and to be honest, the majority of the time you go out when you're playing well. You know, when things are not so great at the club, what are they, 8th in the league, and you're going in the FA Cup, and he's not been in the best of form, like Alan said. You would just and if you're gonna go out, you don't go out in Belfast where everyone knows who you are. I understand if you're in New York or somewhere in America where you can go, hiding. But the only thing I found interesting about the whole thing is Ten Hag could have protected him in terms of, he could have said, no, Rashford wasn't supposed to be available. I give him days off. And yeah, I knew he was going out. I told him to go let his hair down. But the fact that he said it was an internal matter, look, we don't know exactly what happened, but we know as former players, when a manager basically says it's an internal matter, that Rashford's done wrong. He said it was there for us to see. And that is a bit, I have to agree with Alan. It's just so disappointing. When I look back in my career, and yes, a lot of it is injury, but some of it was, I didn't really give 100% or could have done more. And I didn't have half the ability that Rashford has got. And if he finishes his career with, a lot of Man United appearances, but not that many trophies, let's be honest, he should be a starter for England and a starter for Man United with 20, 30 goals a season. And at this moment, it's just a massive distraction that him and the club just don't need.
It needs to be sorted out one way or the other, because I said it yesterday also on the TV tonight. He's either got problems at home, or the relationship at the club is broken down somehow. Either way, whatever it is, it needs to be sorted out because it's helping no one at this moment in time. Actually,
one of my favourite moments of the game yesterday, moving along to cheerier matters, was the one of the brilliant songs that the Newport fans were singing, and the kind of self-deprecation and making a kind of joke at their own expense when they started singing, "Sheep in bastards, we know what we are." I mean, it's brilliant. It just made me cry.
I didn't hear that.
Did you hear that one, Micah?
It was
actually when because we had one of those kind of manufactured little tiny studios that it was self-built in the corner of the ground, and obviously there's no loo around, so you have to go out and down, and there was kind of portaloos in the distance, and there were loads of fans there, and then on the side there was all the fans, and I just caught them singing, "Sheep bastards, we know what we are." Obviously, this is the first game post-Klopp announcement that he'll be resigning at the end of the season. Alan and myself did a special. We couldn't find you, Micah. Where were you?
I was getting my beard and my haircut.
We need to get your view on it, because Alan and myself, we did about 15 minutes, one of this kind of special episode, emergency pod, if you want to call it.
What more can I add to what you guys have already said? He's an elite manager. And you know what? The aftermath is really annoying me.
Why?
And people are saying, oh my God, Klopp's such a great manager because he only won the league once. But it's irrelevant. He's got to 3 Champions League finals. It's where he took them from to where they are now, the challenging, up against one of the best sides ever in the Premier League in Man City. What more do you want from him? I think he's an unbelievable manager. I think he's, normally when you say, what has a manager got? I think he's got everything. I think he's great man manager. I think he's great tactically. I think he knows how to get the best out of his team, so he's a motivator as well. I wouldn't say he changed the game in terms of tactics like Pep. in creating different positions. But I would say the gegenpress, he made it really valuable for Liverpool and how they want to attack and defend as well. It brought the high line. And I know Trent's moved from right back into midfield as well. So he's been fluid. He's got absolutely everything. And it'd be sad to see him go. It really will, because he brings so much entertainment on the line as well. He's sensitive as well. Even in his interviews. I remember I was doing BBC one time. And I said something. I was actually praising him. And he said, What did Micah say? I was praising you. Calm down, you know.
Micah, the fact that he knows your name, you should have been. He knows who I am. He knows.
He's just been brilliant, and you know what? Sad's a strong word, but I'm disappointed he's leaving because the rivalry with Man City has been great.
It'll be like that at Anfield for every home game now, won't it? From now till the end of the season, the reception he'll get, and rightly so, because he's been amazing for them.
What's he like to interview?
He's great. I did it a couple of times. In fact, I did one which the BBC put out when he first arrived at the club, and you got it all almost immediately. You could tell how, I think, clever he was. How motivated he was, the energy that he had, and he was lovely. And he took me around the Liverpool training ground, and he had a big map, and that's the bit that the B put out. And he was saying, I've had to find out. He said, I've heard of all these clubs, but I don't know where they are. And we put it on the map, and he spotted where Leicester were, and then. I think I said something like it's quite hard to find Tottenham Hotspur on the map, but you could see that infectious enthusiasm that he has was immediate. I interviewed him, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times during his tenure so far, and I think the last time I did it was when they won the league. On the way to winning the league, was at Norwich, and we sat down in the dugout and and he's always, he just gets it. And I think one of the important things that I think Alan, he said that he immediately he had that dynamic and that kind of connection's the word, that's the right word, Alan. Connection with the Liverpool people. Not just the fans, and he just got it, didn't he? Immediately. He's
a grafter. He's a worker, and that's what they are in Liverpool. And straight away he understood what he had to do and how he had to do it, and how he had to communicate with the Liverpool fans, and he did it from day one. And that's one of the reasons why they love him, because they feel as if he's one of them and he's exactly the same as them. And I think you have to be that way. You have to get the area you're working in straight away, and he got it.
Yeah, I think obviously the owners have known for a little while, but it was quite clear, and I have this on good authority, that the players didn't know until the morning of the announcement.
Wow.
But I suppose that they wanted to keep it quiet then.
Yeah, because as soon as you had told the players, if you're telling a group of 25 people, it'll get out.
One of them will tell their mate or their brother, and he'll tell someone, and it'll end up in the newspaper or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure all the top people knew at the club, just not the players. But yeah, and it was, I think I said it as well, didn't I? It was done in a classy way. There was no one got it as an exclusive. It didn't secretly get out. He did it the right way. He did it himself and told the fans. So I think it was all done in the correct way.
Van Dijk spoke, didn't he, before the game, about the players having an extra motivation going into the rest of the season. It's quite unusual, isn't it, that you're with a manager that is going to quit. I had different but a similar thing with Bobby Robson. When he was England manager, of course, we went into Italia 90 knowing that Bobby was going to leave after the tournament, and I think that I think it's bigger bonding at that point. It creates a bit of affection, a little bit more emotion, possibly.
Did that help though, Gary?
Well, we didn't win it, Micah, but we went bloody close. I mean, the truth is, you run through a brick wall for your country anyway, and you run through a brick wall for Sir Bobby. So I don't know. And it's like, even with Liverpool now, the one thing you look at all these teams, you're never going to say, well, they could do with a bit more motivation because they're not giving it all, because they do, don't they? Yeah. Because he's a natural motivator anyway. So I don't know. Maybe it'll carry. I think perhaps we know it's always an incredibly tough and actually quite exciting place to play, Liverpool, because of that incredible support.
Yeah. The atmosphere is always great, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
And it's going to be off the charts, as I said, for every game at Anfield in between now and the end of the season. The atmosphere will be, not that it isn't anyway, but it'll be extra special because they'll want to row him to success.
Yeah. Quadruple to sign off, Micah.
would be nice for them, wasn't it? But
would be nice.
I don't think it's reality.
Yeah,
I don't think.
No, I think that's incredibly difficult, but a great chance in the league. That's the one he'd really want, Micah, isn't it? The league.
Yeah, the league's the one that you really want. And are we, the quad? Are we counting Europa League as a massive cup now?
It has to be, Micah. It has to be.
I'm just asking the questions.
It's a European trophy, Micah. I mean, hang on a minute. Would you sooner win? And they're in both competitions. Would you sooner win the Europa League or the Carabao Cup? I mean, come on.
Because I've done a couple sponsors with Carabao Cup, I would say the Carabao Cup.
What an amazing performance that was to go to Ipswich Town. I know they played a bit of a weakened side, but given the gap in the pyramid between the two, and I think they're the first team from that kind of lower tier to get through to this stage of the FA Cup since a club in your neck of the woods, Alan.
Blythe
Spartans.
Yeah.
78, I think.
What a performance, what a result. You could see what it meant to all their fans and players and manager, and rightly so. What a day out for them. I mean, I heard their manager say beforehand everything might have to fall for them. A bit of luck. You might need the keeper to play well. Yeah. Well, all of those things happened, and then you had incredible determination on top of that, and that's how they got through.
Did you see George Ellakobi before the game addressing the supporters and stuff? It was brilliant stuff.
What a day for them, mate.
It was class. But go on, did you see the goals? Come on, Reynolds' goal, the little cheeky dink.
Oh, eh?
You must be able to left footer. Wow.
Messi-esque.
They did have a weakened team. You still got to go and do it, haven't you, Gary? You still got to go and do it, and they did it. Fair play to them.
It's a really difficult thing to do. And you've got to remember, well, they were away from home.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that is so tough, and it was so unlikely, wasn't it? And 98 places between them and the football period.
I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful here, so don't take this the wrong way. Coventry or Sheffield Wednesday. But did you see the reaction of all the club and everyone else, the fans, when the draw was made yesterday? I felt a bit sorry for them when they were pulled out again. It's like, I
think even the fans of Coventry and Sheffield Wednesday they'll be chuffed with the draw, I suppose, because
absolutely.
they've got a good chance to go through. But
yeah,
because you obviously you'd want a Liverpool, a Manchester United, a Manchester, one of the, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but they might get past the next round, eh?
Well, that's perhaps the way they're thinking, but I suspect they're not.
Yeah, they want to get to the done.
Game between West Bromwich Albion and Wolves. Obviously, one or two Wolves fans were somehow in the West Brom end, and it kicked off, and it felt like a scene from back in my day. It's kind of late 70s and 80s when we saw that sort of thing was commonplace, and the last thing we want to see is that back in the game. Hopefully it's just a one-off.
100%. It needs to be, because, I mean, come on, we all have the passion. We all like to win, and the history. It's a big derby. I played in a derby with Villa against Birmingham, and I know how ferocious it can be. Obviously, I played in a Manchester derby. So we know the fans can be geared up, but the scenes were absolutely awful. Come on. We're better than that. Football's moved on from that. It's just, I know they've not played each other for a long time and the emotion got the better of them, but the scenes were ugly. Players having to go into the crowd to get the families out and worried about what's going to happen. It's too, and not just the players, everyone in the stadium.
Yeah, hopefully it's just a one-off and we don't see that ever again. Yeah, it was nasty. It was horrible, and it was really worrying. You know, when you're seeing some of the players going in, and Micah just said it there about getting their kids out so their kids are safe. It's like, Jesus Christ, come on, man! This is 2024. It's not 40 or 50 years ago where that was quite a common thing.
One for you, Gary. Why do you think it is starting to creep back into... I'm not just talking about this country. I'm talking about in football in general. You're starting to see it a lot over the last couple of years. What do you think the reason is for that?
I think it's just human beings. You know, we you know, whether we're tribal or, you know, that kind of almost prehistoric instincts. I don't know. It's we just want a bit of kindness and a bit of love and a bit of enjoyment, which is actually what you mostly get, I think.
100%
at football games. I mean, you know, you get a bit of banter and you get a bit of fun. Alan talked about his experience at Craven Cottage amidst the fans. I suppose as well, you know, who knows whether, you know, a bit too much to drink or, you know, there's a lot of talk about like substances taken now, illegal substances before games, stuff like that might generate that kind of stuff. I don't know. You know, who knows on these things, but just enjoy the football. That's what we really want, isn't it? Just go and enjoy the game. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, 2 goals again for Milan. He's doing really well over there. And Micah. He used to play. He's another one, actually. I mentioned before that one of my sons was at Chelsea's academy for a few years. And he played with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And it was funny because when I used to watch them play lots of games, and I used to think, this kid will make it. And if he doesn't, then I really don't know anything about the game. And he's having a really good career. He's doing well over there.
It was always strange because when he first he first made his debut, you're thinking, wow, this is a special talent. And then he's at Chelsea, and then sometimes he played as a wing back, as a midfielder, as a number 10, sometimes even on the left. And you're like, I'm not sure what his actual position is because he's really good technically. And he wanted to play like number 10, but he didn't really have the legs to get up and down. But he's really good on the ball and he can control the tempo of a game. So maybe going out to Italy where the tempo's a little bit slower and obviously very good technically, and then being able to make them third man runs into the box, it's just helped him a little bit. And maybe not having the pressure of the Premier League maybe has helped him as well over there with his mate Tomori.
I was just about to say, it's a very similar story to Tomori, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's one of those now, Al. If people always ask me what was Italy like, and you know, I went to Fiorentina, but these boys are playing for Fiorentina's a top club, but Milan's one of the very big clubs, and it's like, would you stay in the Premier League and be 15th, 16th, 17th, or would you take that leap and go to a Serie A and play Champions League football, play in the San Siro, play against top players? And then I think that's the way to go. I really do.
You've got to respect them for doing that, haven't you? For thinking, got to go out, there's a huge opportunity to play for a giant of a football club, and for them to, it's not easy packing up your bags, is it, and going abroad and moving everything over there and taking that plunge, and you've got to respect them for doing that.
Well, as someone who did it myself, like you did, Micah, it's just a great life experience as well. You know, it gives you an opportunity perhaps to learn another language, to live with a different culture, and also, you know, there are different styles of football around the world. And it increases your, you know, it's great for your education in terms of just the sport as well, in terms of playing. For example, Loftus-Cheek now, he was, you know, obviously mostly when he played here, he was kind of more of perhaps a 6 or an 8. Yeah. But now, in the last few games, he's playing more as a 10 for Milan. And so he's, you know, he's increasing his knowledge of the game. And I think it definitely improved me as a player. No question about that, my all-round game.
Yeah. And as you said, great life experience. It's like brilliant.
There was a decision. Funnily enough, Kasper Schmeichel was in goal for it. There was a penalty taken. It was saved by Kasper Schmeichel. It bounced out. It was knocked in. And in the end, VAR basically made a mistake. They got it wrong, as we've seen over here that they do on occasions. And Genk actually took the case to court, and they won. And now they've been forced to replay the football match. And whilst that's an interesting story, I think perhaps the more fascinating side will be what sort of ramification will that mean to the game, to VAR, and the precedent it sets.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, when I found out about this, that was the first thing that I thought, wow, is it only a matter of time before that happens over here? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure who or how the club would be perceived if they were to go down that route, you know. But yeah, if it's happened there, how long till it happens somewhere else, and then again and again, and then you think, if that is going to happen, then how's that ever going to work? I mean, basically there would be no room for it. They would have to scrap it. No.
Has there ever been anything that's come out of a Belgian court case that has affected the game before? Bosman made a massive change on it, didn't it?
Yep.
Interestingly, though, of course, if you take yourselves back to October, and you remember the game between Spurs and Liverpool, and Jurgen Klopp, who we've been talking about on this episode, of course, he said after that, because it was clearly they got it wrong, the offside, didn't it? It was Luis Diaz, if my memory serves me right. Klopp said, I've got the quote here, I think the only outcome should be a replay. That's how it is. It probably will not happen. The argument against that will probably be, if you open that gate, then everybody will ask for it. I think the situation is that unprecedented that a replay would be the right thing. Now, it didn't go anywhere. Obviously, they didn't take it to court like Genk have done. But, blimey, if there's a big game and a big moment and something like happens like that and VR cocks it up, where does this lead to?
This is what I mean, though. The game every year is we're losing a special part of the game. Like, we brought in VAR, and we could all agree that we wanted VAR because we thought if it was applied in the right way, then it would benefit the game. At the moment, it is still doing a good job, but some of the big decisions they're still getting wrong, in my opinion. So now, if somebody can take it to court
and win,
they're going to get cases every other week. And how, if you're in a court and say there's a judge, how do you say, okay, that case is valid, but this case is not? Then that opens another can of worms. It's killing the game.
The judges will be acting as VAR to the VAR.
It's ridiculous.
Another manager that's announced he's ending his job at the end of the season for slightly different reasons, probably to Klopp, and that's Xavi at Barcelona. Extraordinary game they played at the weekend. It ended up 5-3 against Villarreal. It got back to 3-3 at one point, and then Villarreal scored two games incredibly late, as we're seeing often now that we're getting longer amounts of injury time into the game, beat them 5-3, and he kind of emotionally announced his resignation.
I think the quotes that I read from him though were really interesting. There's a bit of him that probably thinks or knows that he hasn't been protected. It's sometimes an impossible job, hasn't been helped at all. I think those were some of the quotes that I read from him. So there was a bit of anger in his voice as well, isn't there? He's not going out and thinking, "Oh, this is amazing, this is brilliant." He will go out with a little bit of anger, won't he?
I think so. It's definitely different to the Klopp situation.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just sad though, isn't it? When you've got these great players going back to manage the great clubs. Yes, like Gary said, he won the league. They played some exciting football, especially last season. But now it's sort of just been tarnished, you know? And everyone's talking about Alonso going back to Liverpool and he should be the candidate. And he's just thinking to himself, I think he's got all the tools to do it. But is it just too early? And could he tarnish the legendary status he has at Liverpool.
It's possible. He even said that if he wins the Champions League this season, which does appear unlikely, I think, given perhaps the lack of strength of the squad. But even if he wins the Champions League, he's still going.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't think they're that good.
Just before we go, we've got news of a little competition for you all. For those of you that have signed up to our newsletter, and if you haven't yet, please do so at therestisfootball.com. And the prize is a signed England shirt. Micah's signed it, Alan's signed it, and I've signed it. And all you've got to do is sign up to the newsletter by the end of this month, and you could receive a nice England shirt in the post. That's it from us. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a great week, everyone.